Hello guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures, and today we're going to be doing part 46 of our Planet Zoo mod spotlights. Can't believe we're making it this far, we're nearly at 50. And we're going to be taking a look at a bunch of wonderful mods people have been making, and just talk about the wonderful natural world that we live in, because why not? And start off, we've got, as I mentioned last time, or yesterday, would have been the time of recording, I am going to do 10 this time, and we've got 3 Agouti species done by Leaf that we're going to go over quickly. So we're going to be starting off with our first Agouti species. It should be here. Let's zoom down. So yeah, there is the Black-Rumped Agouti. So this one is, last name is Parrotfish, which is an Agouti species that is obviously in the same family as other Agoutis, the same genus. This one is entirely endemic to Brazil, and it normally lives around the northeastern region of that area. And the name, obviously, the Black-Rumped Agouti, is kind of obvious to tell. It comes from the rump of it, which is black, which is very much in contrast with its body. So, really done wonderfully. And similar to other Agoutis, they tend to be social or monogamous and diurnal, and tend to be very important seed dispersers. So we're moved on from the Black-Rumped Agouti. We've also got the Coiban Agouti. Let's see if we find that in here. There we have the Coiban Agouti. That's the male, yep. The big bad male. Really, really wonderful Agouti. So this is a different species. This is Coiban. That's the species name. And it's found in the island of Coiban in the Panama. And is very, very similar looking to the Central American Agouti, and often considered the same species. So the taxonomy on these guys is really, really complicated. It's either 2 species or 12, so it's like... but anyway, this species is considered near threatened because on the island that they live in, there is a lot of threat from logging and habitat loss, so it's a big issue for them. Really, really cute guys. I can't let these Agoutis go extinct. They're very, very cute. Far too cute. And last but not least, we've got another island Agouti. We have got the Ruatan Island Agouti, if we can have a look here. Here is the Ruatan Island Agouti, which is a species that is found in the Ruatan Islands. The species name is Rutansia. It is found on the island of Ruatan, I believe you pronounced that. It's endemic, so that means it's only found there, on the north coast of Honduras, so it's part of Central America. And they're very, very similar to the Central American Agoutis, but they're actually very much smaller. They're only about 44 centimeters or 17 inches in head to body length, with this orange fur, which that fades into like more olivous undersides and all that, and also have some few dark hairs on their ears, unlike other species of Agouti. And these guys, like other Agoutis, tend to be not territorial and come out both day and night, and can be quite timid in humans. And this species in particular inhabits the scrubby forest on the islands, on the island of Ruatan. So that means they eat lots of hibiscus, coconuts, almonds, and Bethulia pods. And similar to the Conan Island Agouti, these guys are threatened by habitat loss and hunting. And as the tourist industry grows on their native islands, hotels have started to encroach on their native habitat. And while some remain in these developed areas, they live off chicken grain and hide under the hotel buildings. They're not found in the... Most are now found within the hilly interior of the island, so away from the coast. That's a little bit sad, but they are still wonderful animals regardless. So we got those 3 Agoutis done. All 3 of these little Agoutis were ported from Zoo Tycoon 2 Ultimate Animal Collection by Leaf, just so we know. Make sure everyone feels credited. I like crediting people because they all do wonderful work. So now we're going to move on from these Agoutis, and we're going to move on to a fish. So who doesn't love a good fish? We have got the Rainbow Parrotfish next, done by Buff Zoo, Leaf, and Tripwire. So this is a port from Maneater. Let's look at an adult. There's a wonderful adult here. So this guy is one of the largest members of the parrotfish family, and is the largest in the Atlantic. They can reach up to 1.2 meters in length and weigh up to 20 kilograms in weight, and live a maximum age of about 16 years. And they kind of get their name, the rainbow parrotfish, because they have all sorts of different colors. They also have this like greenish brown all over coloration, along with touches of green on their scales, and bluish green as well on that, and dull orange fins and face and things like that, which is really, really interesting. And the sexes appear to seem alike, so there's no sexual dimorphism between the two. So let's find one that's swimming a little better. I want to find one under the water. Under the sea. Under the sea. There he is. Look at this wonderful guy. Really did a wonderful job. So these guys typically live around the western Atlantic and can be found from Bermuda to southern Florida, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean to Venezuela, where they live in seagrass, mangroves, and coral reefs. Beds all in shallow water at about depths of 3 to 25 meters. And they're also a detritivore, so they feed on detritus, bacterial communities, and meioformas, but also take sponges. And young fish appear to recruit mostly in mangroves, so that's where the young will live before they move on to other areas. And they're listed as vulnerable or near threatened due to overfishing and habitat loss. But because the present data is not good enough to allow a current estimate, they're mostly considered near threatened. And they're relatively rare throughout most of its range, but most common in Bermuda. And they seem to be widely harvested by subsistence fisheries in many parts of the Caribbean. So that does put them at risk of overfishing, especially being a big fish that needs a long generation time, living to up to 16 years. That's pretty long for a good fish. So yeah, really, really wonderful. So again, that was done by Leaf, Buffsu, and Tripwire. Really, really awesome. So now we're going to move on to a couple of kangaroos. It's tree kangaroos this time. So we've got a really cool animal here. We've got the Lumholtz tree kangaroo. Really, really wonderful animal here. I love a good kangaroo. So these guys are a heavy-bodied tree kangaroo that live on the rainforests of the Arthurian tableland region of Queensland. So you find them in Queensland. And the IUCN considers them as rare. I believe they consider them as near-threatened. They are named after the Norwegian explorer Carl Sophus Lumholtz, who was the first explorer to European to record a specimen. And their local indigenous name either means Mabby or Mepi, either or. And they are the smallest of all the tree kangaroos, with males getting on average 7.2 kilograms or 16 pounds, and females getting up to 5.9 kilograms or 13 pounds. They also have a body to head to body length ranging from 480 to 650 millimeters, and a tail from 600 to 740 millimeters. So about 48 to 65 centimeter body and 60 to 74 centimeter tail. They also have powerful limbs and have these short, grizzled grey fur that looks really, really wonderful on them. And they also have it on their muzzles as well. And they're found in a variety of habitats. As long as it's full with food and adaptable structures to climb on, they're pretty good. They're also generally solitary, with the exception of male-female mating and the long, intimate mother-joy relationships they have. So each kangaroo will maintain about a home range and will be hostile to members of the same sex that enters it. The only exceptions to this are non-hostile encounters between adult males and their male offspring. Thus, the male will protect his own range and visit the ranges of females within his group. A lot of species will do this, and mating takes place in an episode of 20 minutes and is often quite aggressive, like good mating is. So, in 2019 in June, it was reported that many of them were going blind. So that's like a very, very interesting question. And normally they're almost invisible at the treetops. They were being found in schools, sheds, and middle of roads, which was unable to see and confused. So everyone was like, what the heck is going on here? And it seems like they noticed that there was an injured Karen Combes, who cared for injured tree kangaroos on a property west of Cairns for 2 decades. She thought a successive dry periods in the area were contributing to the eye problem. Her theory was it's because they can only eat the leaves, the rainforest trees they inhabit. They actually ate the ones that were fairly toxic to them, and because they were quite dry. And the toxins could have been building up in these leaves and in the bodies of these animals, and could have actually been a really, really big issue for them. So that's a very unique problem to have. Other work has been don't really support these claims, but they find there've been no convincing evidence of widespread Lumholtz tree kangaroo blindness, though they've been found no widespread of this pathology, which is weird. But it's still a very interesting thing to consider. It's kind of like civilian science, trying to figure out the root of the problem. And it's very weird. It's often very... I think it's probably just happenstance. It also seems that they found evidence that it may be a virus as well, or a viral infection, which is very, very interesting. And that could be an issue in the future for the Lumholtz tree kangaroo, even though they're doing quite well at the moment, be considered near threatened. And really wonderful animals here. How can you not love these wonderful tree kangaroos? Where's the baby? I need to find the baby. Where's the baby? There's the baby. We'll have a look at how cute they are. How adorable is that? Lumholtz tree kangaroos. I love tree kangaroos. They're so cool. And as I mentioned, they're found in Queensland. They're found in a very, very select area. Like most of the tree kangaroos, they don't have particularly big ranges. And are wonderful, as you can see. So now we're going to move it on to another tree kangaroo. So one tree kangaroo to another tree kangaroo. We've got the Goodfellows. So who doesn't love a Goodfellow? Look at these wonderful guys. So this is the Goodfellows tree kangaroo, also known as the ornate tree kangaroo, and it belongs to the family Macropidae, along with other kangaroos, wallabies, and their relatives and things like that. And they're native to the forests of New Guinea and on the border of the Inran Jaya in Indonesia. And they are considered endangered, sadly, because of overhunting and encroachment on their habitat by people. And they're named after the British zoological collector Walter Goldfield. So that's where they got their name. So they're not too different from other tree kangaroos, but they're very different from terrestrial kangaroos. So they have very, very short legs, as you can see here, that allows them to, and along with hooked claws, that allows them to better climb. And they have a long tail to help balance themselves, that kind of show that the species has primarily a boreal existence. And you can see they have this like short woolly fur with like chestnut or red-brown, and they have pale bellies and long golden brown tails, and really, really beautiful animals. And they have 2 golden stripes on their backsides. Really, really awesome. And they get pretty big. They weigh about 7 kilos on average, or about 15 pounds. Quite big animals. Really, really wonderful. He's a good fellow, you could say. So these guys, like other tree kangaroos, are slow and clumsy on the ground, and they move around at a walking pace and hopping along awkwardly. So they lead their bonds forward on the heavy tail. But in the trees, they're very agile. They climb by wrapping their forelimbs around the tree, and often they'll hop between branches. So that's a very, very interesting way of getting around. I do say so myself. And they'll also have a very extraordinary jumping ability, and they'll be known to jump from heights of 30 feet, jump to the ground from heights of 30 feet, and be fine. So that's really shows that they're very, very well adapted for absorbing the forces of them, like jumping out of trees and jumping through branches. And I'm sure they occasionally fall on the ground to just misfire. Though these guys have a feed mainly on silkwood trees, leaves. They will often eat other foods such as fruits, cereals, flowers, and grasses. And they have very, very large stomachs to accommodate this, with them functioning like cow stomachs or ruminant herbivores that they use basically bacteria in their guts to help ferment the plants and stuff. Very similar to those ruminant mammals. It's very, very interesting. Really, really wonderful animals as well. And you can say he's a good fellow. And look at this wonderful baby. How cute is he? I love a good fellows. The only issue I see with the models is kind of like they don't really have 2 thumbs, unlike koalas. But that's just what you get when you base them on a koala. Really, really awesome model we got going on here. Oh, so that's Goodfellow. Now we're going to move on from another marsupial. So we've got a lot of marsupials today and a lot of monkeys. So that's really, really awesome. So we have got the southern hairy-nosed wombat. Who doesn't love a good wombat? So look at this wonderful woman. So the southern hairy-nosed wombat is one of the 3 living species of wombat, and is found throughout scattered areas of the Nubar Plains in New South Wales, and also a lot of areas within southern Australia. And they are well adapted for digging, like other wombats, and they're also plantigrade. That means their whole hand touches the floor. And they range from, their body length ranges from 772 to 934 millimeters, or 30 to 36 inches, and with a body mass ranging from 19 to 23 kilograms, or 14 to 71 pounds. So I believe they are the smallest of the 3 species of wombat. And they have this really grayish tan color to their coats, and they almost look like a pig with their big snout, and it's really, really awesome. And they have in sizes very similar to those of rodents, and that will also grow through the entirety of the animal's life, which is likely an adaptation to their harsh diet. And compared to the common wombat, they have a much larger temporalis muscle and a smaller masseter muscle, but unlike their relative, the northern hairy-nosed wombat, they have a longer nasal bone, so that's another good way to tell them apart. And they'll get lots of hair in them as well. Really, really interesting. So as I mentioned, they live throughout western and southern South Australia and New South Wales, where they live in these grasslands and woodlands. And they like native perennial grass, and sedges, but they will consume invasive pastures as well if there's not much food available. And they tend to, as I mentioned, they've got constantly growing teeth that allows them to deal with that harsh diet, and they keep the grasses trimmed. And they're more efficient at grinding food into small particulates than western grey kangaroos. And they also have a tiny caseum and column divided in parts, which helps with the fermentation and helps food get better reabsorbed, especially water as well, since they do live in places where there's not that much water. So the harsh environment as well has also found that they have a very low metabolic rate compared to a mammal of the same size, or another marsupial, and even even placentals as well. And they also have the lowest thyroid hormone level among mammals, and the food the wombats eat allows them to eat as much. Basically, this allows them, because they need to burn less, because they don't need to burn as much, keeping themselves warm and digesting stuff. They basically are power saving modes that allows them to get as much food as energy as possible for reproduction and moving around and things like that from their food, which is really, really awesome. And the southern hairy-nosed wombats live in burrows like other wombats, and they are like warrens, similar to like rabbit warrens. They can be refuges it can be shared up to 10 individuals, and they'll dig with their foreclaws and kind of dig a new burrow, and they make a central warren, and they all share the warren and just share it with each other, though male wombats can be territorial towards wombats from other warrens and defend food resources, but generally they kind of just all live in a general group and have a good time unless another one comes around and kicks ass. And the burrows of these guys have an average air temperatures of about 14 degrees Celsius in midwinter to 26 degrees Celsius in midsummer. So that's basically perfect for their thermoneutral zone. So if they're getting too hot or cold, they can come into their burrows and it stays a much more constant temperature for them. So that's a really cool adaptation. And they also make surface contact in habitats with low humidity and high temperatures better for the wombat. So basically making their own habitat. So that's really, really awesome. And they will retire down to their deep burrows after foraging. And the next morning or the next night, they'll move to the entrance to check if conditions are right before emerging again, and then in the evening they'll leave their burrows when the ambient temperature and the burrow temperature is about the same, and in the early morning they will surface when the temperature is lower and then go back to sleep. That's really, really interesting. And now we'll talk about the babies. So, luckily we've got a little baby here. How cute, a little man. Really cute little man. So, these guys breed when their favorite food is in peak growing conditions, and they usually will breed around winter rainfall, which germinate grasses between August and October. When this rainfall is sufficient, they will enter ovulation, and the male's testosterone will go up, and then they breed, of course. And copulation will take place in the warren, and the male remaining in one burrow and the female move among them, so she just does her thing. Mating will take place on the ground, and the gestation period of these guys is about 22 days, so that's very, very small. But remember, these are marsupials, so they give birth in October, and when the young is born, they climb in the pouch and then cling to a teat, and they will stay in their pouch for about 6 months, growing to about a little under half a kilo, with open eyes and things like that. And they'll soon leave the pouch and start grazing on the surface. And when the young is fully weaned, is about a year old, and they reach their full adult size about 3 years old, of which they become sexually mature. Another cool thing about these wombats is that they use all sorts of different scents and vocalizations to communicate with each other. So they will often emit rough coughing noises as they pass each other, and emit a more stringent call if there's alarm or anything. They also lose a lot of smells and scent marking to mark territories and such. Look at this wonderful big wombat. So we'll have a look at where's the male? Because the male's usually the biggest and baddest. There he is. Look at this wonderful guy. Who doesn't love a good wombat? So the southern hairy-nosed wombat was listed as near threatened by the IUCN in 2016. Since many of the populations are now isolated and maybe non-viable, so there needs to be some mixing. Though they were previously listed as least concern, there'd been outbreaks of Sclerophobic Mage, which was competition with introduced herbivores as well. Also susceptible to drought and several severe fragmentation in many parts of their range. So they're doing okay, but there is some cause for concern since a lot of these could add up, like competition with cattle and all of that could potentially hurt their numbers. And they have a wide distribution, large population, and occur in a number of protected areas, and it's unlikely that they would need any more severe amendment to their threat level. And they've also been considered agricultural pests, but obviously not that much anymore, since their digging can destroy crops and also break the legs of livestock if they crawl in their burrows. But they seem to be doing a little better. Though livestock and the competition between livestock, rabbits, and wombats has led to overgrazing, and also overgrazing and spread of invasive weed had led to some of their preferred areas to be covered by invasive grasses, which aren't nutrient or they can't really digest and able to get all their food that they need from the invasive grasses. So they obviously die from starvation and get emaciated. But they are doing quite well compared to... What are you doing? Oh, that's cute. But luckily they are doing okay. They're doing much better than their relative, the northern tree... not the northern tree-kangaroo. The northern hairy-nosed wombat and the common wombat's doing quite well. Hence its name's common. But really wonderful animal and really cool to talk about them. So next we're going to move on to an extinct animal. This one was done by... I think I might have mixed out the people, but these three were done by NicholasLionRider and Leaf. So we did all three of them did a wonderful job with these wonderful marsupials. And the next one's going to be Synthetoceras, which is done by Genora Pizza and Johnny V. So these guys are a large extinct proceratid, which is endemic to North America, and they lived during the late Miocene, between 10 and 5 million years ago, and existed for approximately 5 million years and been found from Nebraska to Texas. So they were very widespread across North America. So have a look at the wonderful male with these wonderful horns. So these guys were quite large. There's lots of other relatives. The proceratids were originally thought to be related to pronghorns, but they actually may be more closely related to things like poodoo and other small things like that, small deer and things like that. Really, really interesting. And they have a length of about 2 meters or 6'7", 7 inches, and they are the largest member of their family, but also the last member of their family. So they went extinct in the Miocene. And about the size of a red deer is probably the best comparison. And they're also considered to be have one of the strangest horn sets of any of the procerids, where they have this like really, really weird looking like forward horn here with the two prongs, the Y shape. And then they have this like full-on forked antlers here. So it's like they put a brontotherium and a pampas deer together and created this weird animal. Really, really awesome animal. Really big. And they seem to have been... males really only had these strange horns, and they probably used them in territorial disputes, like other deers and other animals with horns. They're most likely very much for sexual selection. And we'll have a look at the females as well. So there you have the kind of normal one there, and then the males have the ones on the head there. And then we can have a look at the babies and see how cute they are with a little nub. Very, very wild animals, don't you think? Well, everything in the Miocene was just like so alien yet so familiar. I'm a big fan of these guys. Really did a wonderful job. That was by Johnny V and Genora Pizza. They did a wonderful job with that, and so did NicholasLionRider and Leaf with all these marsupials. So now we're going to move on to our second to last animal. We've got some monkeys coming up. By Leaf and Monsoon, we have got the golden snub-nosed monkey. So that's also very, very interesting. So these guys are an old world monkey that are native to a small temperate mountainous area in central and southwest China. And they're found at elevations of about 1,500 to 3,400 meters, or 4,900 to 11,200 feet above sea level. And the Chinese name is the Shuhan golden hair monkey, also known as the Shuhan snub-nosed monkey. and it's one of the 3 species known in China and one of the most widely distributed throughout China. So, very, very interestingly, the sexually dimorphic with adult males really get these like large golden guard hairs around their backs and their cape area around here. They have a brown crest, brown chest, and all that. And when their mouths are open, they have these very long canines that can get up to like really big lengths. And the adult size is usually between 58 and 68 centimeters and weigh about 16 kilograms. So they're quite a big monkey. And some adult males will have a similar look to these guys, but it's leaner body since they're younger. And adult females are smaller in size, about half the size of the adult males. This is a female, so let's see if we can find ourselves a big male. Here's a big male over here, I think. You can see the comparison. And they get quite big, and they have... obviously, they get the golden snub-nosed monkey name from the golden hairs that they got going down their back as well. And they also have this bright blue face that's really, really interesting. And, yeah. And when they're newborns, they're like light grey, kind of this colour here. Or light brownish colour. This is kind of represents... you chilling down there. It represents like a 3-month-old to a 1-year-old, where they're brownish grey with a light brown, and which appears white in the sunlight. And they often observe playing with juvenile, but they don't spend most of the time by their mother or suckling from their mother, and they observe clinging on the front of their mothers for protection and feeding and nursing. And they cannot be distinguished. The sex of these guys cannot be distinguished from this age just by looking at them. Usually. By the time they're, I think about 5 years old, that's when you start to tell 3 or 4 years old is where you start to tell the differences between the sexes, just visually, since the males get much bigger. So that's another male there. Look at these wonderful monkeys. I'm in love with these snub-nosed. So as I mentioned, these guys live in temperate forests around China, and they're found in these really high cloud forests and broadleaf forests as well. And they have home size, their home range size varies a lot during the year, depending on the availability of food and where their food can be found. And one of the largest home ranges they had was about 40 kilometers squared. And they usually live in groups of about 5 to 10 individuals, but they have made bands of up to 600, so that's a lot of animals. You can see the sizes between the male and the female here. Very, very big difference between these guys. And they're quite complex. The one male units are the basic social unit, so it's a group of females led by one male. And a lot of these times, these will join up and make larger groups with like multiple males. They'll have like just it's a fusion fission society, so they often do their own thing. But often males will also stay solitary, so remain away from the group and do their own thing. And adult females will tend to socialize more often with one another than juveniles or males, which is very interesting. And they also spend most of the time protecting their young all together, so the mothers will often help assisting with the care of the young, and while faced with predators such as goshawks, they will place the young in a central group, while the stronger adult males will go to the scene of the alarm, and the rest of the day the members will like group together and stay closer to one another while the young are protected within the center. So they kind of just keep a formation and try and keep their kids protected. Good parents. And in terms of reproduction, these guys are sexually mature at about 5 years old for females, and males become sexually mature at 5 to 7 years old. Mating occurs throughout the year, but they will mainly peak in October, and they have approximately 6 to 7 months gestation, and they usually give birth between March and June. And it seems like these guys have a really, really interesting choice of sexual selection. So these guys, female-to-female competition over males is actually very important in these polygamous species. It has been well studied in these guys. Because of the basic social unit and reproductive units they have, like one unit male, they can have one male, a male and a bunch of adult females and some adult females with juveniles and infants. It seems like the females are more competitive over the lone male in their group, and that leads to more competition. So that's very, very interesting. It's kind of reverse. You think like the males are always competing for the females, but it's not those monkeys, it's the other way around. In terms of diet, they also have very, very generalist diets. They eat lots of lichens, lung leaves, fruits, seeds, buds, herbs, and flowers. And the diet vary a lot depending on the season, since some areas, the time of the year, they eat primarily lichen during November and April. And during May to June, they have a mix of like a folivore and lichen diet. And then during the summer, in August and October, they generally eat a lot of everything. So it's just really what they can get their hands on, which is really, really interesting. So sadly, these guys are considered endangered due to habitat loss. For instance, because the lichen is a very, very important staple of their diet. It's usually found on dead trees and usually have the greatest lichen cover. But usually the dead trees are harvested, so that reduces the quality of their habitat and the availability of food for them. And they're also a highly selective feeder, so this is very, very important and very, very damaging to their populations if they aren't able to find the lichen. But at the same time, they've been fed a lot by tourists near wildlife sanctuaries, and often that leads them to be exposed by pathogens and diseases as well, so that's not very good. But luckily, they do live in a lot of protected areas, and they're considered endangered, but they aren't doing too badly. They're also quite famous, and they're also kept in zoos as well. Really, really wonderful animals. How can you not love a golden snub-nosed monkey? And I love their blue faces. Just really, really interesting. They're like little yetis. So yeah, really, really wonderful. Have a look at the male as it runs off. So yeah, this is done by Leaf and Monsoon, and the last one is done by Leaf and NicholasLionRider again, who also did obviously the two tree kangaroos and the wombat. We have got for the Africa pack that he did, very, very everyone's been waiting for this animal. We have got the Hamadryas baboon. So, really, really interesting animal. This is an old world monkey and a species of baboon, and is the most northernmost species of baboon that live around the Horn of Africa and live on the southwestern region of the Arabian Peninsula. So, the region provides habitats for a bunch of, like, a lot of no more predators, like fewer natural predators than Central and Southern Africa. And this gives them the advantage as well. And they're often considered sacred by ancient Egyptians and were called sacred baboons, so that's really, really cool. So these guys also have very striking sexual dimorphism, with the males being nearly twice the size of the females, but they also have differences in coloration. You can see the adult males have a really light cape or mantle that you can see here, almost like a mane. And it's like silver white in color, along with a blue face or a reddish face, and kind of a greyish tone across their body with this huge cape or mane. While the females are much less, they're much smaller, and generally just have much thinner, as in general as well. It's generally much thinner and much more greyish body hair. Really, really interesting. So males are very, very huge. Males may be up to 80 centimeters long and weigh between 20 and 30 kilograms. While the females weigh between 10 and 15 kilograms and have a body length of 45 centimeters or 16 to 18 inches, with the tail adding another 40 to 60 centimeters onto that, and ends with a small tuft. And they tend to have, infants tend to have like very dark brown variation, coloration, as you can see here. And they reach sexual maturity about 4 years old for females and 5 to 7 years old for males. So these guys live in a multi-level society, so there's usually like 4 levels. So this tends to be like the top male. They often include like a younger follower male with a male that leads the group. And 2 more units can join together. So there's basically the male and his follower, then the females, and then the babies as well. So they live in a very, very complex society. And they even join bands that can grow up to 400 individuals and move around to sleep together. And they are very, very interesting because they are strictly patriarchal. And they limit the movement of the females, hurting them with visual threats such as like growling and roaring and things like that. Very, very interesting. And they breed aseasonally, so that means they only breed during the different seasons. They don't really need a season to breed. And the dominant male is usually like the one male unit that does most of the mating. And so he's the one. And the females do most of the parenting, so they'll take care of all the little babies here. We'll have a look at find a male to think about. Where are you? There you are. No, that's a male. The third to female. Let's put a male. So these guys are kind of the rule of the roost. They prevent other females from coming in close contact with the infants. And they also protect the young from predators, while the females kind of just generally take care of them while he protects them. And when a new male takes over takes over a female, she develops like these big swellings that tries to prevent future mating events with other males. So that's kind of to keep them away. But also when males reach puberty, they show like a playful interest with young infants, and they will often kidnap them, sadly, and it's very, very interesting. And this is actually most awfully done by follower males, and they can often lead to dehydration and starvation of the infant because they obviously need their mothers. And very, very interesting. They've got a very interesting social dynamics. Very, very cool animals. I like ourselves a Hamadryas. I feel like everyone's been really asking for a baboon, and I think we finally got it. And I'm a big fan of how the male looks. Look at him sleeping there, having a good time. Very, very swole. Big fan. So that was done by Leaf and NicholasLionRider, as I've mentioned. Both did a wonderful job. NicholasLionRider's done all sorts of cool mods. Really didn't see how the tail came out. But yeah, I think this would be a great place to end the video. So I really, really, really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Always remember to hit the little bell icon to get notified whenever I upload anything. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. And bye-bye.